participants here, I take it. I
have a pad of paper here, Bill, that I can use.
So we have the 14 people I see under participants. That's
I need
the
a pad to write.
attendees. Okay, so we'll get started. This is the Development Review Board for Burlington for July 21st, a Zoom meeting. I guess we're going to say we take up items in the order they're on the agenda. And I guess the other thing we're going to say is that when people want to participate on an item, Scott will admit them as participants. Is that true, Scott?
I will unmute them and let them speak to the item.
Okay. And people who participate, we ask that you give Scott, or how do they get their email addresses to you, Scott?
So when members of the public speak, so not the applicant, because we already have their contact info, but if we have folks from the public wishing to speak, they can either tell us their name and address, or they can email it to me.
Okay. Good, because that's the only way that we're going to know who actually participated. And we're going to ask people to identify themselves when they speak, because not everybody is on a video. Some people are on telephone.
Yep.
We can't see them or they can't see us. I guess I want to keep it simple that way. There are no changes to the agenda. I know we have one item that's a time extension, but there's no changes to the agenda. Is that true, Scott?
Correct.
Okay. Communications, there are no communications I saw.
Nothing that's not included in the packet.
Okay. Minutes, did everybody get copies of those minutes, Scott?
So I had sent you 2 sets of minutes pre-pandemic that had been included in prior packets. So as far as I can tell, you can sign them.
Okay.
There are 4 other sets.
17th and sometime in February, I think it was.
Right. There's 4 other sets that I'll include in the board's next packet for review.
Okay. Okay, we'll take a look at them. Then we go right into our public hearing. The first item is 6 Catherine Street. Nancy Hania, is she here, or the applicant here?
Yes, so I see Nancy, so I will allow her to talk, but I'll say what I say at the beginning of all these meetings. If you're on the phone, I can't tell who you are, but if you want to speak, raise your hand by pressing *9. So that said, with Nancy, I'll allow her to talk and address this item.
Okay, you're muted, Nancy. Right, there you go. So can you introduce yourself, Nancy?
Yeah, hi, my name is Nancy Hania, and I am the owner, along with my husband, of the house on 6 Catherine Street. And we are requesting to demolish and replace the garage. When we bought the house, we knew that the garage was in dire shape.
Before you go too much further, Nancy, I have to swear you in, actually. So is there anybody else here who's going to speak on this application? Scott, do you see anybody?
I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Okay, so Nancy, I would swear you in, and do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth on the pain and penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, I will let you continue then.
So we purchased the house in October. We knew at the time that the garage was in extreme disrepair, and we are now at a point where we would like to demolish and replace it. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into.
That's funny. It was actually, this was recommended for consent, but it didn't make it to a consent agenda. So there really weren't a lot of questions from the staff report. I did have one question for you, and that is on the architectural drawing, the door, the garage door, is noted as 84 by 84 inches, and I don't believe that that is correct.
7 feet by 7 feet.
You won't get a car in a 7-foot door.
Yeah, maybe that's off. We're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be 8 feet. Yeah.
I think it's 8 or 9. So I think you can correct that. That was the only real question I have. Do any of the other board members have questions for the applicant on this application? see any. And Mary, I think this was your project, is that true?
Yes, it was.
And anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, the original application came in with more complex details, so we feathered it out and separated this particular part to pass through the DRB. All the other work could be administrative review and has already been permitted.
Okay. And I will admit that it seemed like it was dangerous just taking the photographs inside that building. Looked a little dicey.
No site
Dicey.
visits.
Pardon, Nancy?
Yeah, it's a little dicey. It's in disrepair. It has not been maintained. We bought the house from people who had lived there for 62 years. So
It's your turn now. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, Brad, this is Sean. I have a question for either you, the chair, or Mary. There was no determination on in the staff report of demolition by neglect. Is that because it's a new owner?
The previous owner, as this owner is mentioned, owned it more than 6 decades, and there's not a single zoning or building permit that's been pulled. It's a new purchase. It would be difficult to establish demolition by neglect for an owner that's only been there for less than a year.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other comments? Anything you want to add, Nancy? It's a pretty straightforward application. There's a nice little drawing of the garage replacement.
no, it's pretty straightforward to us too. I mean, we're super excited to be in the neighborhood, and we're doing our best to bring that piece of property up to speed.
Yeah, I suspect that we will try to deliberate at the end of tonight's meeting to make a decision on it. That's what we've been doing. So I can't guarantee that, but it seems likely that we do it. And you don't have to stick around for that, but you're welcome to listen in if we do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, I will close this agenda item. The next item is 110 Riverside Sisters and Brothers Investment Corp. And this is actually continued review, and the applicant is asking for a 3-month time extension for the review. And basically, I would have no issue with giving them a time extension. They've already lost this project once through expiration of permits, and I'd hate to see that happen again.
The punchline here is they're eligible for one more 3-month extension, and that's it.
Hopefully they're, now is the applicant here for that?
I don't see him in the attendees list.
Maybe Steve Giles or
Yeah, Steve Guile, Joe Handy, one of the architects or engineers. I don't see anyone.
I don't think I have an issue with just going. Does anybody have any issue with? I guess we'll do this at the deliberative. But do we have to open this as a?
No, I think we.
Is a
If we're going to continue it, I think we would take a motion now to continue it.
Yeah.
And grant the extension.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to continue the hearing and grant the time extension for an additional 3 months as requested.
I have a question about the motion.
We need a second first.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay.
That's fine. But do we have to to continue it to a particular date? Do we have to continue it to like a date 3 months from now?
Yeah,
No,
I think that's a good idea.
We
Yeah.
don't have to. We could. The applicant simply requested a 3-month extension. So, if we say it now, that takes care of notice. If we don't, we'll have to renotice it as if it's new.
Well, without commenting on whether we have to renotice it or will renotice it, I'd move that I'd amend my motion to a date certain, which would be August, to September, to the second meeting in October, whatever day that is, Scott.
Be the 20th, maybe, Scott?
Give me a second and I can find that date for you.
Okay.
It might be more like 20 seconds.
No, it's the 20th.
I see October 20th, right. October 20th, 2020.
So I would amend my motion to be to that date certain.
Okay, great.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so just to be clear on this, Scott, we're extending the review period for the hearing. Is that
Right.
right? Okay.
So it can't be extended beyond October 20th, no matter what.
So they have to come make their final presentation at that point,
Yes,
and then we can deliberate, and
Yes.
we have our 45 days or something for deliberating.
right. Ready or not, you have the hearing and close it. That'll be the end of the line.
Okay. Any other discussion on this motion? So then we can vote. Sean,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Keenan,
Aye.
Ravi?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Okay. So they have an extension, they have a deadline.
Yep.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is 188 South Champlain Street, converting a single-family home to 6 units. Is the applicant here for that?
Who's the applicant on that, Mary?
It should be Dave Paris or Artisan Builders.
Okay.
Paris Properties Limited.
Oh, okay, I see Dave. So we have
Can I get a
Dave.
glass of water? I'll be right back, Brad.
We have Dave and one other.
Kip, maybe?
Yep.
All right. Can you hear me now, folks?
Yeah, hi Dave. Is anybody else going to be speaking besides you on this project?
Yes, sir. Kip DeMole will also be answering questions. He is from Artisan Builders, and he is my builder.
And,
Okay, so we'll have both to speak.
Yes.
So Kip, you can unmute.
and also, is there anybody from the public, I don't know if anybody else is here, but that is wanting to speak on this application? Did you see anybody, Scott?
No one's raising their hand.
No one's here. So we're assuming nobody else from the public is asking to speak on 188 South Champlain. So then Dave and Kip, do you swear to tell the truth and whole truth under pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. So Dave, do you want to give a brief overview of the project?
Certainly. The property is it's in the historic district. It was built back in the 1800s. It's been in our family since 1947. And recently, after my father had passed away several years ago, and the last remaining owner was our Uncle Lionel, who just passed away last year. And upon his passing, my brother, myself, and our cousin got together to discuss options, and my brother and I decided to acquire from the estate the property, and in order to contribute to the community, provide some affordable housing, and also give us the ability to retain the home, keep it in the family, and give both my brother and myself a place to live. I live in Texas and plan to spend half my time in Vermont, and my brother lives currently at the home full time. And so it's our desire to convert it into some small apartments on the second and third floor and retain the ground floor as 2 units, one for myself and one for my brother. And I will tell you, we got a lot of wonderful feedback from the design advisory board on some ways that we could improve its coherence with the historical nature of the property, and also make it consistent and improve its looks and utility to the neighborhood. So I believe what we're here to really discuss today is our request for a parking waiver.
We're
Mary-
accurate.
Okay. And so I will tell you, I don't believe Sherry was on. Sherry Campbell, our wonderful next door neighbor, had voiced some concern prior to the last advisory board review, indicating that our parking plan would be better suited to her if we were to shift the 6 spots further east so that we wouldn't have possible headlight bleed through her windows. And so we worked out I wouldn't say it was a negotiation. I was very happy to comply, but we drew up a new parking plan that shows the 6 spots further to the east so that they basically map up to the very back of her building and then continue to where her parking area is. And so that is what we're looking to do, is to get the parking waiver reduced
Let
from.
me ask Dave for 1 second, Dave. Mary, is that the plan that we have? That's part of the application? You're saying no?
Yeah, it looks different.
Yeah, because the plan we have still has 2 spaces overlapping the building next door.
No, that I might have worded that wrong. I said it overflowed the back of the building and then is adjacent to or across the fence line to her parking area, but it's not a 1-for-1. The back of her building does have the 2 spots.
Oh, okay, so that
Yeah,
is,
I apologize. Yeah, my poor wording.
no, and you're making 6 units and you're asking for 6 spaces in there.
Correct.
And it's looked very nice. You've got the extra lot for it. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant on this? No. It is really the parking, I guess, that we're mostly concerned with. I have 3 comments on the building itself.
I don't think that's really, go ahead, sorry. But
Well, one of them is just, it's in terms of accuracy. You've got a 3-foot porch noted, and if you're making a 3-foot walkway, the porch is bigger than 3 feet. And it's a small thing, but I don't think you'd be building at 3 feet and would make the site plan inaccurate.
Got it. Yep, I understand.
And sort of the same thing goes for the stairway. You've got a 6-foot stairway there, and I think if you have 3-foot runs of stairs, you're not going to be doing that in 6 feet either. And I know maybe this is getting beyond everything, but I can't resist. The drawing that you have for the back of the building that shows the stairway, it has some kind of roof form coming above the existing roof for the stairway, and it's very confusing to me. And I'm just sort of hoping you don't have a random roof flying out in the air. I mean, it's a very nice building, and it just seems that's probably not, I think, how you're going to be doing it.
Well,
That's
I'm not.
elevation.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And Kip, I'll ask Kip to weigh in here in just a moment because he's the builder and designed the roof. But the intent of that covering is to meet the requirement to have the stairwell
Yeah.
completely covered. It probably looks a little bit different in reality than in the drawing, I would expect, but it is done with adherence to the regulation, and of course, we're going to try to make it look as stylish and coherent as possible. But it is
It just seems
independent.
the roof slopes could match the existing roof slopes. I think you'd be way ahead of the game. It's not run that way.
Oh, I see. Yeah, the pitch of the roof was actually selected based on the pitch of the stairwell. There's a Kip. Maybe you want to weigh in on this in terms of what your thoughts
Well,
are.
yeah, 12-12, we've got a 12-12 roof, and on the building, the stair would be less than that. So it was, my thought of attaching it to, that it would run the course of the stair, run parallel to the stair.
I suppose that's one way to think of it, but the roof is much closer to the existing roof of the building, and that's really what you're going to be noticing more than that it's running parallel to the stair. You're just going to see it's not matching.
Well, it's actually more than 10 feet away from the main roof. If you look at the 3D or the other elevation, there's quite a gap there between the stair roof.
I see. It's freestanding about 20 feet off of the building.
Yeah,
Well,
and my intention is that it connects with the roof that's running over the balcony,
yeah,
and then, matches to get to the top of the landing for the top landing.
okay, well, it won't be so annoying then, but it's still nice if roof slopes match when you have the.
I agree with you. I'd like to do it. It pained me to draw it that way, but I'm
Okay.
kind of stuck. I'll do my best to, when we actually got the exact elevations, that will make it work, but.
I admit we're wandering in an area that we won't be voting on, so.
No, I will tell you that the enhancements to the building will definitely be an improvement from what it is today. It's been unfortunately neglected for a while, so it needs a little bit of work.
Okay,
Brad, could I add some information that just came to me this afternoon?
right ahead.
I have heard from the stormwater administrator, and he has confirmed that the small project EPSC form has been completed. But the property does not propose any stormwater management or recognition of the increased impervious cover within a combined sewer shed. He would ask the applicant include the use of LID techniques such as porous pavement, ribbon driveway strips, and permanent rain gardens located on the property where the stormwater is being directed. So that just came in late this afternoon.
Is that something that would go for review by DPW?
By the stormwater engineering program.
Okay. So that would be what? AJ?
So that's not, that would normally, I just want to understand this because this is permitted in the district. So we're not being asked to review the use, just the waiver. So where would that fall under what we're being asked to do? Mary, would that be something that you would deal with administratively normally?
Typically, this would be included as a condition of approval.
Okay, so we could approve it. If we were to approve the parking waiver, since this hasn't been, would we send it back for an updated administrative permit review with that, or would we just include that condition now?
Well, you are correct that the focus of responsibility for the DRB is the parking waiver. But since it is a COA level 2, we've combined everything, and we could include that as part of this review.
Okay.
Frequently, we do project permitting with a similar condition.
Yeah, understood.
We're happy to comply with that.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for the late notice. The applicant team was not aware of it, as I was not until 3:30 this afternoon.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question, Brad.
Sean?
And/or Mary, are the design elements of the, to get back to the porches, so the design elements there, is that a closed book on those? Is that all been done? Or are we? Because I do
The
have a couple of
applicants
questions.
had a bumpy ride through Design Advisory Board, largely hindered by difficulty in having a quorum for decision-making. And at least on the last review, with only a quorum participating, and there was not agreement on the building elevations and solutions being satisfactory to all board members, the result was there was no action.
Mhm.
So that's how this project comes to you.
All right, well, I have just a comment and or a question for the applicant, Kip or Dave. On the front porch, I see that you have, and this is just in the interest of, as I've noted in some of the staff writing, to not too much alter the historic character of the home. The support posts that are being utilized for the porch, I see are simple 4x4 pressure treated posts, correct?
That would be where I would start, yes. If we need to cover them, we would do that, but.
Well, that would be my recommendation, to keep with the original elements of this house, as far as design goes, to wrap those posts with some material, preferably a finished pine or something like that, to be more in keeping with the type of post that you would see on a porch. I think it would meld into the rest of the building nicely.
Okay.
No problem.
And also, I'm a little unclear as to how the railing is on the upper porch. Are those vertical balusters or are they horizontal?
Vertical.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a drawing in that I had submitted that was electronic that I had made a mistake on that shows the horizontal. So ignore that. It's the vertical. And I
Okay.
apologize for the confusion I created.
All right.
That was put into the staff report, right, Mary? The
Correct.
vertical railings.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The vertical railing sketch was put into the staff report.
Correct.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything else? Dave or Kip, anything else you want to add at this point?
Nothing more from me other than a commitment to comply with whatever the stormwater recommendation is. And I'm happy to wrap those posts in pine. And that's all I had.
Okay, so we will close the hearing and probably deliberate. We have one more item or two more items on the agenda tonight, and we will probably deliberate after that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So this is the next item is a master sign permit. And Scott, I may look to you for any guidance at how we're supposed to be doing this. This is a on the record review, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, it is. We've had a few of these and they're pretty uneventful.
Yeah. So this is a master sign permit for 266 Pine Street, Pine Properties. Is the applicant here?
Let's see, is the applicant, yep, I see the applicant, Steve Conant.
Okay.
There's Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, how are you?
Okay.
Proceed.
Is anybody else here to speak on this application, Steve?
I think it's just me.
Okay. Is anybody in the public here for this? See anybody, Scott?
If so, raise your hand. I'm not seeing any.
Okay. So, Steve, I'm going to swear you in that you're going to tell the truth and whole truth under pain and penalty of perjury.
That I will.
Okay. So this is a master sign permit. I think that for the most part, the signs that are existing are considered to be consistent with the application. Is that accurate, Ryan?
Let's see. Well, that's a little bit. So for the last few years, I've been attempting to close all permits and make everything compliant. We have a mixture of permitted signs and unpermitted signs. I engaged Hendrik Glazer in looking at the whole block and assessing what we're allowed to do, what we've done, and what we anticipate doing. The anticipation is relative to those tenants who have frontage on the street or in the where they have an entry into the building, or are desirous of some sort of signage. There's the only thing that's sort of new is putting up some panels that used to exist for the last 20 years, but not the last 3, that depicted tenants upstairs over what is now Tom Girl and the main entry there. And so there's 5 signs left. I believe everything that Hendrik has proposed is compliant, but there are a few tenants who have signage up that is not permitted. Rack and Ruin is one, Grooves and Grain is another. They're mentioned in the list of proposals that are in this, I guess, master plan. I don't know if that answered any questions or not.
It did. And what I was trying to figure out was when I was reading the staff report, were there some instances where the signage, and I think it was either Groove and Grain or Rack and Ruin, was higher than they were supposed to be? Is that?
Yep, I think Rack and Ruin is definitely over 14 feet, non-compliant and illegal. And Grooves and Grain, I don't believe it's over 14 feet, but it's just those are both banners. Rack and Ruin's been up for years. The Grooves and Grain's been up for months. And those are banners that would be taken down and replaced with compliant signs.
Okay. And those are the only ones that I think I noticed that were not.
That's correct. I mean, we've got more than 25% window coverage with some vinyl on a front door. There's vinyl that was put up. I think Brio may have some non-compliant vinyl that would have to come down.
Okay.
Leave. Yeah, there's sort of a mix.
I see Keenan has a question. Keenan, did you have a question?
Yeah, and so and maybe this is a question for staff, but I saw in the staff report that that if there were any changes to the signs in the master sign plan, that they'd be subject to separate zoning permit. And then there was a comment that the Branthropology Blade sign exceeds the required width allowance of 3 feet, and that was going to have to be revised. So do they need to submit a revised master site plan that includes the changes to the Branthropology sign? Or
That's a good question, because the Branthropology sign hasn't been built yet. I'm not sure that permit has been closed. I think it's been applied for, but I'm not sure it's been permitted. So there is no Branthropology sign there now. I think that this stated that it needs to be reduced to 3 feet from 4, I believe.
Right.
In which case Hendrik will be building all those signs, so he will have to build the Branthropology sign compliant with the note, wherever I read it in this, that says it needs to be narrowed down.
So if I can pipe in briefly, so there's a couple of revisions that are tied to the master sign plan that need to be made before the approval is, I'll say, official, right? There's, just like any other approval, there are some conditions that need to be met. Now with master sign plans, they're a little funny. You get the master sign plan to basically take care of individual review of signs down the road. But if Steve chooses to do a sign outside of what's included in the sign plan, he can. It just means he needs to come in to get a separate zoning permit for it.
How does zoning keep track of the cumulative? I mean, we have a ton of square footage to use up, so I don't think we'd run into an issue. But if a tenant came along and said, or several tenants wanted additional size, ultimately there's a maximum number of square feet we're allowed.
Yes.
And so if a separate application came into zoning for a sign, would you then have basis, would this master plan be the basis upon which you would approve an individual additional sign? What I'm after is can we build a baseline and then have something that guides us so that it makes sense from things?
Yes is the short answer. The master sign is going to be your base plan or baseline.
Great. Okay.
So I'm just thinking about the comment. So basically, there's already conditions of approval recommended in the staff report that address the Branthropology sign.
Yeah, Branthropology.
Branthropology. Thank you, Steve. And clarifies the window signs. Were there other issues that we needed to address besides those 3 things?
Not from staff's point of view.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. I think you're going to be the one keeping track of a lot of this, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, in the past, I've told for 20 years tenants to go get a sign permit, and nobody does. So there are very few signs, and those signs that are up, which has been very few, were rogue, ask for forgiveness approaches.
Yeah.
This, I expect now I will be able to say to a tenant, well, this is our master sign plan. You know, this is the amount of permitted footage that's left. This is the look and feel of what's going on. You know, tell me what you want, and we'll have some constraints within which we can create a new application for a new zoning permit. The ones that were listed here, some of those haven't even asked for signage yet, but they should have some signage. Brio has nothing telling people that it's Brio, and they have 3,000 square feet of space and a whole bunch of frontage on the street. And so I'm just sort of pushing them along to make their job easier. The Rack and Ruin is my daughter, and I'm pushing her to get legal. And apparently we can't close the 30-odd sign permit until the Rack and Ruin sign comes down, according to what zoning told 30-odd. So I'm just trying to get it all cleaned up so that we have an understanding and we're legal.
Good. You're commended for that, Steve.
Oh, well, thanks.
Any other questions for the applicant or comments? Okay. With that, we are going to close the public hearing, Steve, and
Okay.
probably deliberate in a few minutes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks. So we have another agenda item, annual organizational meeting, which is basically the chair, vice chair, and the ordinance committee, and there's a few other committees too, right? And they're long range planning.
I'm impressed, Brad. I neglected to put long range planning committee on there, primarily because they haven't met in a year.
Over a year.
Long range.
But yeah, that is right. So chair, vice chair, ordinance, and long range.
So I guess we started with the chair and the vice chair. I think I've been doing this for 2 years.
I think so.
I think it's true. I'm willing to do it one more year. I think 3 years seems like a good term. I don't think doing it forever the way Austin did, even though it was inspiring, would be the model I want to follow. I'm happy if somebody else wants to step up to it. I see AJ shaking his head, even though I do think the process is that if I do this next year, then the year after, it would be probably AJ that would, since if he stays on as vice chair.
Brad, I'd be happy for you to remain on as chair, and I'd nominate you in for that position. So enjoy it if everybody else agrees.
Is there a second on that, or is any a second on that nomination, I guess?
I'll second that.
Okay. Discuss any other nominations that you want to put out there? Okay, well then, all in favor of my staying on as chair? I'll do it again. AJ and Keenan.
Aye.
Aye.
Sean, Robbie.
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess I get to do this one more year. Then vice chair, I think AJ's, I'm happy he's there. I would nominate AJ as vice chair.
I enjoy doing it. Thank you, Brad.
Second on that?
I'll second that.
Robbie. Any
Go ahead, Sean.
discussion? Hmm?
Just to go ahead, Sean. Yeah.
It's okay. I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion or any other nominations? Then all in favor of AJ, I vote yes. And Keenan,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Robbie,
Aye.
AJ.
Yep, aye.
Okay, so we have our chair and vice chair. Ordinance committee, who's on the ordinance committee now, Scott?
It was Soraya. We don't have someone, and we need someone because we actually do meet.
Yes, and that
It
means,
meets once a month. Sometimes we skip a month, but typically it's once a month.
and it's actually sort of interesting, and it's helpful because there are issues that come up. It's meeting with members of the planning commission and
Right. There's 3 planning commissioners, 1 design advisory board rep, and 1 DRB rep.
so
Once a month, the first Thursday of the month at 5:15 p.m. Meetings are about an hour, hour and a half.
And are they meeting by Zoom?
Yeah.
Anybody interested in such a position?
I would be, but I'm an alternate, so I'm not sure if I can serve on a committee.
Is that?
I think you could.
Yeah, I'm not aware of not being able to. And Zariah started as an alternate, but I think she was a full regular member by the time she was on the OC. And go for it. If it's a problem, we can circle back.
I don't think we usually vote on committee members, right? They just volunteer and we accept it.
Oh, I don't remember, Brad.
Well,
They vote by acclamation.
so I think if you're willing to do it, I think that's great, Robbie.
Okay.
Okay with
Thanks.
that. And then the long, this is like an empty threat.
Right.
The Long Range Planning Committee. And do they meet with the regional planning? Who do they meet with?
No, it's also planning commissioners, and there's a conservation board rep. And you know, most of the planning activity is basically a 5 to 10 year horizon. The long term is like looking way out. And they've not met in quite some time, but they do meet as needed.
Anybody interested in such a position? No.
I think I was on that for the board last time. I'm happy to continue doing that, but
Whatever. Yeah, that's great, Keenan. Okay,
Awesome.
great. So we've got our organizational work is set.
Yep.
Okay. Well, congratulations, everybody.
Well done.
Question, sorry. Do motions need to be made on Ravi and Keenan's positions?
We were debating that and saying that usually I think they're just appointed. I didn't think we voted on it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll call it good.
Okay. Then I think that is all our business tonight, and we will adjourn. And if people are willing to stick around, we can do deliberative on these items.
Yeah, I think deliberative works well tonight if everyone's up for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we'll move right into that.